Plus, tonight's Powerball jackpot lottery is the largest prize ever.
And in sports, 2 Ohio football players are recognized following their performances against Buffalo.
Good evening, I'm Victoria Niemes.
And I'm Joe Collins. Welcome to Newswatch, your source for news impacting southeastern Ohio. It's the final push before millions of Americans go to the polls to determine the balance of power in Washington. Isabel Rosales is on Capitol Hill with a breakdown of what's at stake and which key states are critical to the battle for control of Congress.
Make no mistake, democracy is on the ballot for all of us.
In this last sprint toward the midterm elections, candidates across the country are making their closing pitch, and voters casting ballots in record numbers.
What's happening in this country is not okay, and we are all suffering.
Democrats battling to maintain control of the Senate, their majority razor thin. 35 of 100 Senate seats on the ballot. In the House, all 435 seats on the ballot. Speaker Nancy Pelosi facing an uphill battle to hold her majority.
I see Democrats spending money in seats that Biden won by 20 points. New York. And why is it competitive? Cost of living, crime, the inflation.
Statewide, 36 governor seats up for grabs. But all eyes on crucial battleground states.
Get people to vote.
Arizona, home to contested Senate and gubernatorial races. 12 of the 13 Republican nominees for federal and state office have questioned the results of the 2020 election, according to the Washington Post. Also critical, Nevada, Georgia, and Pennsylvania.
Are you happy with where America's headed?
One of the nation's most closely watched Senate races.
Fundamental rights are on the ballot.
And where 3 presidents stumped this weekend. President Biden's declining popularity, plus rising inflation and gas prices, are making it hard for Democrats to see a clear path ahead. On Capitol Hill, I'm Isabel Rosales.
Tomorrow, and the Ohio Secretary of State's official releases a guide of all things Ohioans should know before heading to the polls. In a press release, the Secretary of State's office ensures this election is secure and says voters should treat poll workers with respect. The release also says that if you experience a problem on election day, have concerns about election misinformation, or about general questions about the election process, contact the Secretary of State's office. If you're planning to vote tomorrow, you have until 7:30 p.m. till the polls close. Voters must be registered to vote and bring a valid form of ID. Find your polling location, voter ID requirements, and a sample ballot. You can go to www.voteohio.gov. And for coverage of Southeast Ohio's election, join us for Ballot Watch 2022 tomorrow night at 11 p.m. West Virginia voters will decide on 4 proposed constitutional amendments in tomorrow's election. Lawmakers are asking for voters to give them more power to regulate public education policy. They also want the ability to eliminate state business and inventory taxes, along with the state's personal property vehicle tax. The 2 other proposed amendments would prohibit the state Supreme Court from intervening in the legislature's impeachment trials and allowing churches and religious organizations to incorporate.
Good afternoon. I'm your forecaster, Erin Ashley. Right now, we're looking at very, very clear skies and a beautiful temperature in the low 50s. Don't be confused. The sun has since been out of the sky, and that's why this temperature is starting to get lower and lower. But we have very calm winds for a multitude of reasons, and we have rising pressure, but overall we're looking very nice as we head throughout the night tonight, and that's because of a couple things that are really happening in the atmosphere as of right now. So if we pull up our live radar, you can really start to see that there is not much happening above us right here on the actual reflectivity radar right now, but if we start to pull up certain things, you can really see that there just are clouds out there towards the Atlantic and even to our west, but right over our heads right now, not much above us, and that will reflect into tomorrow, especially into Election Day. Should not have any trouble getting into the polls tomorrow. But there's that wind. As we look at those arrows, you can really see that wind not playing too much of a factor into the rest of tonight and into tomorrow. I will talk about in my full forecast how that will change towards the end of the week. But for now, back to the desk.
Thanks, Aaron. Governor Mike DeWine plans to attend an Ohio rally with former President Donald Trump tonight, making it the first time in years the governor has appeared at one of Trump's events. The former president will speak at the Dayton International Airport to stump for author and venture capitalist J.D. Vance and other GOP candidates on the ballot. Vance is locked in a tight race for Ohio's open U.S. Senate seat against Democratic U.S. Representative Tim Ryan. DeWine backed both of Trump's campaigns in 2016 and 2020. However, he acknowledged that President Biden won the 2020 election and said Trump, quote, poured gas on the fire of the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Republicans hope Trump's rally will excite GOP voters just in time for Election Day and push Vance across the finish line. Vance's stop in Dayton comes after Republican statewide candidates hit the road on a bus tour this past weekend. Democrats on the statewide ballot, like Republicans, are doing last-minute campaigning before tomorrow. Democrats say voters have the opportunity to put Ohio on a different path. State House correspondent Andy Chow reports that Nan Whaley made more than a dozen campaign stops over the weekend. Her main message to voters is that they have a clear choice in the governor's race. Whaley is facing incumbent Mike DeWine in tomorrow's race. Coming up after the break, how the Department of Justice is being proactive when it comes to voters' rights. Plus, which states are facing challenges over mail-in ballots? These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
Control of Congress hanging in the balance. President Biden taking on the Trump wing.
Extreme MAGA Republicans full of anger, violence, hate, and division.
Republicans counting on support from the former president.
You're going to send J.D. Vance to the U.S. Senate.
Consequential state races. Election night 2022, Tuesday, November 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Deep in Texas, there is a very elusive and endangered cat population.
The ocelot's range within Texas has been shrinking because of a number of human-related factors. The efforts for ocelot conservation, I feel, have been in vain. Time is not a friend of ours.
I hope you can see that. We got the ocelot kittens. Oh my God.
Every kitten is precious.
Wednesday at 8 on WOUB.
Crypto, what is it?
20% a working technology and 80% a utopian vision.
Is it a flash in the pan?
There's a lot of hucksters out there trying to sell their snake oil.
Or a new technology here to stay?
It's not going to vanish. What it's used for has yet to be fully determined.
Everything should be on the blockchain, whether it's a movie or the way we rent a car.
Crypto Decoded on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
Southeast Ohio football is as exciting as ever, and Gridiron Glory covers all the action from your team. 8 conferences bring the biggest stories from the 7-4-0, whether it's on our show every Friday night or on social media as one of our many digital games. So follow along because Gridiron Glory is about more than just winning. It's community, it's pride, and it's tradition. So remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.
Welcome back. The Department of Justice is being proactive when it comes to protecting voters' rights. The DOJ announced it's sending election monitors to almost half the states for tomorrow's midterm election. The department said it will have people at 64 election sites in 24 states monitoring compliance with federal voting rights laws. The monitors will include personnel from the DOJ's civil rights divisions and from its U.S. Attorney's Office. It's a practice to protect voters that traces back to the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Pennsylvania officials say thousands of mail-in ballots are at risk of being rejected. A Philadelphia election official said today that 3,400 mail-in ballots in the city contain either incorrect information, missing dates, or missing secrecy envelopes. Yesterday, Allegheny County published lists of more than 1,000 voters who had errors on their mail-in and absentee ballots that were submitted weeks ago. And they expect that number of at-risk ballots to grow. They are urging voters to take immediate steps to get replacement ballots. Pennsylvania is not only the only battleground state with legal challenges over mail-in ballots. Republicans in Wisconsin won their legal fight to prevent the counting of some ballots with witness address errors. And in Michigan, the Republican Secretary of State nominee sued to prevent counting absentee ballots that are not cast in person with an ID.
So, one of the issues in the upcoming election is issue 2. So, here's a closer look at what that entails.
In the upcoming election, voters will see issue 2 on the ballot. But what exactly is it?
Issue 2 is an amendment to the Ohio Constitution that would ban non-citizens from voting anywhere in Ohio.
The proposal would change the language in the state constitution from every citizen of the United States to only a citizen of the United States can vote at any state or local election held in the state.
At the moment, no jurisdiction in Ohio allows non-citizens to vote in elections. This is due to a preemptive amendment following a referendum in the village of Yellow Springs, who in 2019 wanted to allow their 30 non-citizen inhabitants to vote in local elections. However, Secretary of State Frank LaRose argued that this would violate both federal and state law.
As of 2020, 6 states have adopted the only citizens phrasing in their state constitutions. Non-US citizens are banned from voting in any election in Alabama, Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Minnesota, and North Dakota. However, New York City allows non-citizens to vote in municipal elections, and San Francisco allows non-citizens to vote in school board elections. So what arguments do supporters and opponents of the issue bring forth?
Some of the main arguments from people who support issue 2 basically come down to citizenship itself. That, citizens are the only folks who should be able to vote within a particular country. Folks that are against issue 2, they're for several reasons. One reason is that the language would bar 17-year-olds from voting in primaries. And they also think that it's an anti-voting measure, and that is something that could discourage people from voting who are citizens.
Opponents of the issue also argue that it would be unfair to people who live, work, and pay taxes in communities to have no say in local matters that directly affect them.
Voters should be careful when reading the ballot, as the phrasing can be a bit confusing. Voting yes on the issue does not mean you support non-US citizens' right to vote. Instead, it supports prohibiting local governments from allowing non-citizens to vote in local elections. If you want non-citizens to be able to vote in local elections, you should vote no on issue 2.
What you need to know about the cash payout options if you win tonight's jackpot. That story's still ahead.
And I'm going to talk about how we might see some freezing temperatures this upcoming weekend. But meanwhile, make sure you check us out on our social media, YouTube, Instagram, as well as Twitter.
Control of Congress hanging in the balance. President Biden taking on the Trump wing.
Extreme MAGA Republicans full of anger, violence, hate, and division.
Republicans counting on support from the former president.
You're going to send J.D. Vance to the U.S. Senate.
Consequential state races. Election night 2022, Tuesday, November 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Southeast Ohio football is as exciting as ever, and Gridiron Glory covers all the action from your team. 8 conferences bring the biggest stories from the 7-4-0, whether it's on our show every Friday night or on social media as one of our many digital games. So follow along, because Gridiron Glory is about more than just winning. It's community, it's pride, and it's tradition. So remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.
From Nashville, Tennessee's historic War Memorial Auditorium, celebrate songs of America's returning war veterans, co-written with top hit songwriters. Join forces with veterans in collaborative songs, born of hard truths that inspire and present the power of music to change lives. Stories from the front lines in lyric and melody, songwriting with soldiers.
Friday at 10 on WOUB.
Deep in Texas, there is a very elusive and endangered cat population.
The ocelot's range within Texas has been shrinking because of a number of human-related factors. The efforts for ocelot conservation, I feel, have been in vain. Time is not a friend of ours.
I hope you can see that. We got the ocelot kittens. Oh my God.
Every kitten is precious.
Wednesday at 8 on WOUB.
Welcome back to Newswatch. I'm your lead forecaster, Erin Ashley. We're looking at really nice skies today here in Athens. We saw mostly sunny skies, in fact. That's because we've had some nice clearing due to some high pressure, and that temperature is warming up quite a bit as a result of all of that. We do have a pretty cooler temperature heading throughout the night tonight, so make sure you grab that jacket, especially heading out the door later tonight. And as that sun really goes down, expect for that temperature to really start to creep up on you. But if we look at the live radar, again, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, not too much happening over our area as we speak. We do have some pockets of rain out here towards the west, but as it pushes over towards us here in the east, we can expect high pressure to really clear that up and make it seem a little less a little more tolerable, excuse me. But if we go ahead and pull up certain things, we'll go ahead and pull up the pressure centers. You can see it over here in Athens and in Ohio in general. We got nothing sitting above us, but we do have high pressure out here towards the east, and we do have high pressure up towards the north as well. No low pressure in sight, but we do have a system or two out here towards the west that we do want to keep track of because it will affect us later in the week as we speak. But if we go ahead and pull up the fronts, I do want to bring up something that is right here. You can see on the yellow right here, that is called a dry line. And so that really is just shown by all the high pressure we've been seeing over the past couple of days. We have a pocket of dry air sitting above us right now. And so that is going to increase the risk for fire spreading. It does mean we are seeing some very clear skies, warmer temperatures over the next couple of days, but because of dry weather, we're going to want to be careful. If you are outside and you are wanting to enjoy this beautiful weather, make sure you're doing that safely because we do have a kind of a heightened risk because of that dry air. But really another thing that you want to take into consideration with that are your winds. We don't really see too much of wind really playing much of a factor here. As you can see by the arrows, we really don't have many strong winds. Things are looking very, very nice. And that again is because we don't really have a pressure system right above us as we speak. So over the next couple of days, expect things to feel really, really nice outside and expect that to really translate into tonight. Grab the jacket. We are going to see a pocket of cloud or two. Overall, it's going to be very, very, very beautiful, and that's going to translate into tomorrow. Mostly sunny skies. That, again, is because of that high pressure, and that temperature is starting to creep down a little bit lower. We're looking at temperatures in the high 50s, low 60s in Athens tomorrow, expected to be closer to 60, and that low temperature, just make sure you grab that jacket heading out the door because we're looking at pretty brisk temperatures, and that'll only continue to drop as we head throughout the week. So if we look at the surface features for tomorrow, there's that dry line that I'm talking about. It's going to stick around. Make sure that we are just being safe outside, taking advantage of the really nice weather in a very safe manner. But another thing I really do want to point out is we have something brewing out here in the west. It's not going to affect us in the early parts of the week, but expect it to really push through this weekend as soon as Friday. So if we look back at our live radar, you can actually see over here, I'm going to go ahead and drag it over. These two low pressure systems is going to push out towards the west, and in combination, we do have, if you look down here, we do have some circulation out here in the Atlantic Ocean. That's going to push up all the way from down here up into our region. And so you have colder temperatures from the north combining with the warmer temperatures here in the south, that's going to come together, push up towards our region. So we've got a really weird mix of weather happening this weekend. So make sure as we approach the weekend, you are just being prepared for anything that might happen. The main thing we're going to see is the chance for rain as soon as Friday evening and cooler temperatures, and I'm talking cooler temperatures. Look on Saturday, 25 degrees, gonna be the low on Saturday evening, and we are looking at a close to a 20-degree drop from Friday to Saturday. There's that chance for showers, 70% Friday evening, and on Saturday, really start to see those clouds begin to clear up, but again, because of that cold front, expect temperatures to really drop over. That is all the time I have for your full weather right now. Back to you, Joe.
That string of warm weather we were having was very nice, but it looks like we're getting back into normal November weather. An estimated $1.9 billion will be up for grabs tonight and the largest lottery prize ever offered. People are heading to grab their tickets hoping to be the big winner. But how much does that really add up to? Ivan Rodriguez breaks down the numbers.
What would you do if you won almost $2 billion?
What would I do? Well, I definitely would quit my job and travel.
Charities and definitely take care of my family.
I don't even know. That's just a life-changing amount of money.
That could be the reality for someone or someones by 11 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. With no top prize winners for the last 40 drawings, Monday night's Powerball has the biggest jackpot in lottery history, an expected $1.9 billion. The odds of winning matching all 5 numbers and the Powerball are almost 1 in 300 million. But before you start making your list of exactly how you would spend it, there are a few things to consider. The jackpot amount is what you would take home before taxes. If you choose to get 30 equal payments of $63 million over the next 29 years. If you decide to take the cash option in one lump sum, you'd get about $929 million. However, the IRS takes 24% right off the top, plus it's possible the state you win in gets a cut. Annuity payments are always bigger than the cash value because the lottery sponsor invests your winnings over time, which mature and earn interest annually. And the recent federal interest rates are actually causing that value to increase. But whatever you choose to do tomorrow after you win the jackpot, it's enough for you and your favorite coworkers to retire on.
Probably do the payout so I can help my family and help people in need and volunteer.
In Atlanta, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Coming up in sports, 2 Ohio football players receive awards following their performances against Buffalo. That story and more when Newswatch returns.
Control of Congress hanging in the balance. President Biden taking on the Trump wing.
Extreme MAGA Republicans full of anger, violence, hate, and division.
Republicans counting on support from the former president.
You're going to send J.D. Vance to the U.S. Senate.
Consequential state races. Election night 2022, Tuesday, November 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern.
They got so much mud here, it's the first time I ever saw the ground put in for a transfer.
For the men and women of the armed forces, the USO has provided a powerful connection to life back home.
They're putting on shows for people whose lives are on the line.
And it's a moving experience for everyone involved.
It becomes very real to you.
Building morale where it's needed most.
To see troops laugh in a combat zone is pretty remarkable.
On USO for the troops.
Friday at 9 on WOUB.
Thanks to viewers like you, we've been able to tell America's stories on this PBS station. Help us continue to tell these stories now and for future generations by including this station in your charitable plans.
Supporting this PBS station through a gift of stock is easy. To find out more, call the number on your screen or visit this website. Thank you.
From Nashville, Tennessee's historic War Memorial Auditorium, celebrate songs of America's returning war veterans, co-written with top hit songwriters. Join forces with veterans in collaborative songs, born of hard truths that inspire and present the power of music to change lives. Stories from the front lines in lyric and melody, songwriting with soldiers.
Friday at 10 on WOUB.
Welcome back. I'm Maria Manesi. Ohio football quarterback Curtis Rourke and linebacker Key Thompson have been named Mid-American Conference Players of the Week. This comes at no surprise for the Bobcats. Rourke led them by going 20 for 29 with 317 yards and 5 passing touchdowns in their 45-24 victory over the Buffalo Bulls. Thompson made an impact on the defensive side and played a key role in helping hold the Bulls to just 24 points. He had 11 tackles, half a sack, and 1 fumble recovery. Both Rourke and Thompson have been tremendous leaders this season for the Bobcats. There's no doubt both of those players will continue their dominant performances at rival Miami tomorrow night. The Bobcats head into the Battle of the Bricks as winners of 4 straight and at the top of the MAC East. As for Miami, it has a 2-3 conference record. The Redhawks defense will present a challenge for Rourke and the Bobcat offense that must continue to start hot. It's important for the defense to pressure the Redhawks offense and make them uncomfortable. A victory is crucial for the Bobcats, who control their own destiny in the MAC East. Kickoff is scheduled for 7:30 p.m. tomorrow. Ohio football isn't the only team rolling. Ohio hockey swept West Virginia this past weekend and continues to dominate on the ice. The Bobcats had a total of 107 shots on goal compared to West Virginia's 20 in the series. Luke Reeve had 4 goals in Saturday's game alone, which all were assisted by Laker Aldridge. Aldridge gathered 6 total assists on the night. 14 of the shots for the Bobcats made it in the net, and West Virginia only had 1 on goal. Ohio is back in action on Friday and Saturday for a series with Pitt. After splitting its weekend series with Toledo, Ohio volleyball prepares for a tough test this weekend against Ball State. The Rockets had 40 kills Friday night compared to the Bobcats' 25 as they lost in 3 sets. But Saturday night for the Bobcats was a different story. Ohio had 41 kills, 11 of which were from who other than Caitlin O'Farrell, who has dominated all season. O'Farrell's performance propelled the Bobcats to a 3-set victory. The Bobcats take on the Cardinals Friday and Saturday night at the Convo. Ohio men's basketball kicks off its season tonight at Belmont. Ohio is coming off of a 79-62 victory over Capital in its exhibition game last Thursday. Belmont and Ohio met in last year's season opener, where the Bobcats earned a 92-80 victory at the Convo. The Bobcats finished last season with a 25-10 record and went 14-6 in conference gameplay. But this season looks different for the Bobcats, who have 9 new additions to their roster, with 6 being freshmen. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. from Curve Event Center in Nashville, Tennessee. Ohio women's basketball is also in action tonight for its season opener against LIU. Ohio finished 15-15 last season and 9-10 in conference gameplay. The Bobcats added 4 new players to their roster ahead of their campaign, including 2 new freshmen, Jaya McClure and Cassidy Loeffler. But they returned players like redshirt sophomore Maddie Mace and sophomore Yaya Felder that will look to be leaders for them this season. Tip-off begins shortly at the Convo at 7 p.m. Now, guys, a lot of action, a lot of exciting sports news for the Bobcats, a lot of wins this weekend. Football playing tomorrow night. Just an exciting week.
Yeah, and I got the chance to go to Ohio hockey on Saturday, and let me tell you, Luke Reeve, he is a star in the making. 33 points in just 12 games so far this season as a freshman.
Yeah, that's super impressive.
It sounds like it's going to be a really exciting time upcoming weeks.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Tonight we're looking at pretty brisk temperatures, partly cloudy skies. Because of that time change, we did see a sunset that was really early, about 5:20 today. Tomorrow, expect a very, very nice start to the day. We're looking at temperatures in the mid to low 60s here in Athens, and even the upper 50s in some areas of our viewing area. Mostly sunny skies, and temperatures are remaining pretty brisk heading throughout the night tonight. Make sure you grab that jacket. Here's a look at your week ahead. Expect that chance to rain to really hit on Friday evening and even into Saturday. Expected to clear out, but guess what? Those temperatures are dropping. Make sure, you break out the winter coat as soon as Saturday.
And that's all the time we have tonight. I'm Joe Collins.
And I'm Victoria News. Thanks for watching Newswatch.
Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. Remember, you can find the latest news anytime at WOUB.org or follow us on social media.
Have a great night.
Support comes from Goldsberry Wealth Strategies in Athens and Parkersburg, focusing on helping people achieve a life well lived with a custom strategy.